There's that line. How's it go again?
Parody, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball GT are all owned by Venimation Toei Animation, Fuji TV, and Akira Toriyama. Please support the official release.
Yes, that one. And I personally subscribe to this. I think everyone should always attempt to support the official release. Now, the keen viewers out there might have heard me say attempt, but that's because that shit ain't always easy. People aren't like me. They're not gonna buy the original Japanese releases just to support the official release. They're aware that if they don't speak Japanese, they're just gonna become over-glorified shelf pieces. And I mean, they're not wrong, but they are nice shelf pieces. But to get the newest arcs and stories in your language, there's a group of people that you probably don't really think about that are doing all the heavy lifting for you. Hi, I'm Bayfund, and your resident manga connoisseur. Today, I wanted to talk about the unsung heroes of the manga community, the fan translators, the ones that make your favorite scanlations. Because in my opinion, these people are doing more to keep the industry alive outside of Japan more than anybody else. You should thank these people for regularly updating your stories that no one's ever heard of. Like that 400th rom-com that just came out this year that no one else reads but you. There's probably a small crew that's working their asses off to get that out to you. And they also work on some of the biggest like shonen mangas as well if they're not being supported by, the man. And that's the thing. Unless the current manga that you're reading is like the biggest shonen mangas coming out of Shonen Jump, then you're probably not gonna get a concurrent English release with a Japanese one. Meaning that this would just stay in this state of limbo until a company picks it up to publish it or just disappears out of the public mind. These fan translators are doing a job that nobody asked them to just pick up these mangas that they enjoy reading and then just bring them to the audience outside of Japan. They let these mangas reach the entire world by bypassing the system. And these fan translators have to go through a lot of shit to get these mangas out to us. I mean, the hurdles that I've seen some of these teams have to deal with. So to give you an idea of how complex their issues are, here's how the infrastructure of one of these fan translation groups could look like. There's people that get raws inside of Korea, and then they send them off to the Japanese translators so that they can translate them and then have them in a different script. And then they email that off to another country so that someone can actually do the work and put these things together, which then sends it off to another person that has to proofread it and make sure that everything sounds right, which they then get to publish. Roughly like a 4-step thing that people are only getting paid in donations for. And then while you might hear that and think, oh, that sounds kind of easy, think about it. They're doing this in about a day or two's time. And some of the things that they have to do is editing the actual manga by erasing the original text and then putting the new one over it, choosing the typeset, maybe fixing the artwork because there's kanji that's blocking out some of the characters' details, passing several different hands and maybe even different proofreaders because a lot of the times these translators don't even speak English as their native language, and then trying to reach a deadline so someone else doesn't translate it before them. There's a lot of pressure on these people and they're not even in the limelight. One thing that's made this easier for them now is manga becoming more digitally available. The original name for what these fan translators are doing are called SCANLATIONS. And they're called SCANLATIONS because back in the past, people actually had to physically scan in the mangas so that they could put them on a computer and then edit them there. Adding in another step there that included going to the store and actually buying the manga, thus becoming easier with the same day digital release. The name SCANLATION still exists because it's a cool name. And they're doing this all basically just to share their love and the joy of the manga that they're currently translating. There's no other reason really behind this. There's no real financial incentive to really do this. These teams consisting of a few people, or in the worst case scenarios, one person, are doing their best to give you the tastes of variety. After you finished your first manga, you probably became like a damn vampire, wanting to consume more and more and more. You didn't want to stop. Without people like these, you wouldn't have anything else to read. All the varieties of different isekais, romances, shonens, the most popular to the most obscure, they've worked on it. And they publish it everywhere on the internet, from 4chan to Reddit, so that you can read it. These groups work on so many different kinds of manga, you can't limit it to anything. And sometimes that also means they've translated some of the worst stuff, things that you wish never graced human eyes. But the option's still there if you wanted to read that too. Oh, and well, I did forget to mention this part. What these fan translators and these SCANLATIONS are doing isn't the most legal thing. Because you see, most of the time, they don't ask for the rights. They just basically read something, like it, and then decide to share it to the entire world, which is a nice sentiment, but it doesn't give the mangaka the financial incentive, Which is why, for someone like me, I buy the official Japanese mangas after reading the SCANLATIONS. But this is where the big business steps in. Publishers, English publishers, the ones that can actually pick up a series and then translate it officially. They sometimes do the big business thing and overshadow these small translation groups just having fun and completely destroy that small special thing they were enjoying. Hell, it actually seems like these big publishers are looming in the background, always watching to see which scanlation is going to become the most popular next, just so that they know who they should be writing that check to next. And then once they send out that check and claim a series, that's when the cease and desist letters come in, threatening legal action to any of these scanlation groups if they were to continue. And while you might be saying, well, this is supporting the industry, is it not? You're still going through the official publisher and they're still giving the money back to the official magazine over in Japan, right? Yeah, but that's not going to be the exact same thing as if you were buying the Japanese manga itself, because the money is going through the publisher, and then a large portion of that money is still going to go to them, and all they're doing is the same thing that the fan translators were doing, just usually less quality and without the passion. And that lack of passion is certainly felt. To be honest, fan translations, they hit different. You can't deny that. There's something really special from, the excessive vulgarities that you can find in just like the most cringe-worthy fan translations. There's like this real sense of character, this like weebness to them. Most of the time they're doing their absolute best to translate these mangas by giving us the most like literal translations, the most accurate as possible to the original source material. The big publishers try to make it more, I guess, Americanized, maybe putting in some jokes in there, dealing with some like current topics that are happening, stuff that really feels out of place in the manga. And then you gotta think about this. A fan translation doesn't have to worry about using like copyrighted terms or anything because what are laws? So things like names and locations don't have to change. Things can stay unlocalized. Big deal when you're talking about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So then you get like really stupid names for the translations over in the official big published ones. And yeah, fan translations aren't free of their mistakes. There's definitely going to be some grammar mistakes. Infighting is a real issue in these groups because one group tries to steal something from another one because they think that they can release it faster. But this is an entire race about who can get stuff faster than the others. These fan translations are probably going to be able to get things out like 1 to 2 days after the official release, while these big published ones, you're probably going to have to wait a few months or maybe even a few years to get to the most current volume. And in that time of waiting, people might forget or they just might move on. These scanlations made from these fan groups have real heart in them. I think this is really apparent with a translation that I loved a lot, and this is the one for Kaguya. I love the fan translations in this, no matter what iteration I was reading. I mean, back in the early days, like for the festival arc, 4chan had one of the best threads for it. Chapters used to be whole events where you would wait in real time for the chapters to be like updated page by page, leading to the best reactions. I mean, there's this whole video that was done for the Kaguya Wants to See Fireworks event. And then you get fan translations that say things like Daddy in the East because they don't really understand English too well. And probably one of the best and most accurate translation groups with this one over here doing the majority of the manga. You can tell that all of these were fans that absolutely love the series. A lot of these groups work on a few mangas at a time or just one for its entire run, and that's crazy. I mean, to spend your time on just a select number of mangas, you really have to believe in the material that you're working with. And in most of these scanlation groups, at the end of each chapter that they translated, there's a little page of like a joke that was inside the chapter, or maybe their opinion that's there. Something that really shows that they care, which kind of really makes it suck when one group is completely dismantled because a big publisher told them that they can't do it anymore. And yeah, it is fair and it does make sense, but it's just a shame. There are so many scanlation groups that have existed or do currently exist that I could not name them all, since they might just be working on one series at a time, or maybe that they've already been disassembled. Any number of them. I can only put like a select few on the screen right now, ones that I really vividly remember reading from, but I appreciate them all. And I think that they deserve our support. No, not just for the fact that maybe a family member is sick. Love that guy, by the way. Without him, we wouldn't have Sosono Frerin. But donations are usually available for like all of these groups, or maybe we could just like help spread the name of them too. Sometimes in the worst case, these translations are completely abused by the publishers and used for the official material without them being credited for the work, which really sucks. And really, without these scanlations, we really wouldn't have as vibrant of an anime community as we do now. As even though they've cherry-picked what series that they like and don't like, they've allowed us to catch up on all the stories and arcs and stay current in this entire space of anime and manga. Hell, I even think for most people, their gateway into manga was with a fan translation. And with all that said, I was Bayfund. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.